We have two major season-ending injuries at the wide receiver position. My name is Joe Dolan, and this is the Fantasy Points Daily Lineup for Friday, November 4th, 2022.
It's time for the FantasyPoints.com Daily Lineup. Staying on top of the latest news and updates around the NFL. Rise and shine, folks. We're taking the field. Here's your host, FantasyPoints.com's Joe Dolan.
We talked about him yesterday, but there is an update on Ryan Tannehill. This is kind of one of those programs, by the way, where I'm going to be updating people I talked about yesterday because things develop. After he was limited in practice Wednesday, Tannehill said afterward that he's still dealing with a pain in his injured ankle, but may be able to play through it Sunday against the Chiefs. However, he didn't practice on Thursday, which seriously puts his availability in doubt for Week 9. It is, of course, also worth noting that an illness also affected Tannehill last week. The Titans were able to execute a game plan essentially without a quarterback in Week 8 against Houston because the Texans just had no answer for Derrick Henry. And, of course, that's Tennessee's game plan each and every week. But at least when Tannehill's out there, he offers a threat of a pass that Malik Willis did not in Week 8. Now, the Titans will likely have to hold their noses and throw the ball if they're to keep up with the Chiefs in Week 9. And they would be much better suited for doing so if Tannehill is able to play. If Tannehill can't play, and heck, even if he does, the Titans will be leaning on our first running back, Derrick Henry. Now, Henry's absence from practice on Thursday was rest-related, Ron Davenport of ESPN.com reports. And this is a huge sigh of relief because Henry was listed as limited with a foot injury on Wednesday. Henry likely needed some rest after carrying the Titans to victory over the Texans on Sunday, but his being listed with a foot injury gives me agita, seeing as he missed the second half of 2021 following a Jones fracture. Now, this doesn't appear to be anything to worry about, but if Tennessee doesn't have Henry, they can't do anything offensively against the Chiefs. Bottom line. Again, I'm not terribly worried right now, but if you're really a chicken little, Dontrell Hilliard is a speculative ad. In our second running back spot, we do not have a positive update on someone we talked about yesterday in Jonathan Taylor. The Colts star running back didn't practice on Thursday with his lingering ankle injury, and it was his second straight DNP. As of now, we have to consider him on the wrong side of questionable. And yesterday, I said that I still expected him to play. I'm not so sure that's the case. Here is what our Dr. Edwin Porras has to say about Taylor's low ankle sprain. Now, quote, Taylor was obviously limited in Week 8 by the same lateral ankle sprain from early October. Last season, we saw Saquon struggle through a lateral ankle sprain after his return. That is the current floor outcome for Taylor. The Colts are clearly trying to figure out the right path forward for Taylor in terms of rep management. They call it load management in the NBA during the week. But right now, it looks like Deion Jackson is an absolute smash RB2 with Taylor injured and Nyheim Hines traded. In our first wide receiver spot, we no longer have Rashad Bateman. Per coach John Harbaugh, Bateman is slated to undergo season-ending Lisfranc foot surgery. This is per Ryan Mink, the Ravens' official website. What a massive bummer. Bateman clearly was not able to play through the injury last Thursday, and he suffered an aggravation. At the time, Harbaugh said it was a little worse than an aggravation, indicating that it was a different injury. I'm not so sure whatever the case is, but we know the truth. This will prematurely end his 2022 campaign, and Bateman, a 2021 first-round pick, now has just 61 catches in 2 NFL seasons. The Ravens are perilously thin at wide receiver. Devin Duvernay must be rostered in every league, while Demarcus Robinson and even Deshaun Jackson are deeper league stashes. I'll admit it. I'll admit it. I actually picked up Deshaun Jackson in a league. Good Lord. This is where we're at right now. The Ravens have an absolutely abominable wide receiver group, but Duvernay has been a bit of a pleasant surprise for them. Though his production has been inconsistent, he's also been a versatile weapon, scoring 3 receiving touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, and a return touchdown. He aligns 52% of the time, at least now. We'll see if that changes, as the Ravens' right wide receiver per fantasy points data, where he'll frequently draw Saints left cornerback Paulson Adebo. Over the last 5 weeks, among cornerbacks with 50 or more coverage snaps, Adebo's .622 fantasy points allowed per coverage snap is the most in the NFL. Duvernay isn't a sexy name, and he's not on the main DFS slate for you DFS players, but he could easily be a profitable bye-week fill-in with 6 teams off this week. And with Bateman out for the season, he is a must-roster player. The Ravens should also lean even more on their league-leading number of multi-tight end sets, boosting the value of Isaiah Likely. And Likely could well be in a smash spot on Monday night if Mark Andrews can't play through his shoulder injury. This is a banged-up team, and by the way, we'll get to them a little bit later on. Now, our second wide receiver spot is also empty. Saints head coach Dennis Allen said Thursday that Michael Thomas needs surgery to address a dislocated second toe on his right foot, per Mike Triplett of NewOrleans.football. Allen said Thomas will be placed on injured reserve and is likely, not for certain, but is likely out for the season. He can be dropped in all formats except Dynasty, but I'm not even sure about that right now. Thomas hasn't played since week 3, and it looks like that will be the final time we see him this year. Since setting an NFL record with 149 receptions in 2019, Thomas has played a total of 10 games in 3 seasons, catching 56 passes. Thomas will be 30 in March, and his contract looks like one of the biggest albatrosses in the entire NFL. The Saints cannot get out of the deal without a dead money hit of less than $13 million until 2025. Obviously, this is big news for rookie Chris Olave, who has been the Saints' top wide receiver out of necessity this year. But in a rare positive development for the Saints, veteran wide receiver Jarvis Landry was limited in practice on Thursday after missing the last 4 games with an ankle sprain. Landry might not have a ton left in the tank, but this suggests he'll actually have a chance to get into the lineup, which is more than Thomas can say. A week ago on this program, I said that Landry was droppable in all formats. The Thomas injury obviously changes that. He's a very good mid to end of bench stash. And in our flex spot, we have an update on J.K. Dobbins. Ravens head coach John Harbaugh said Thursday that Dobbins' recent left knee scope was a, quote, smashing success. But the running back is still about 3 to 4 weeks away from a return from injured reserve, Jonas Schaefer, the Baltimore Sun reports. Now, Harbaugh told reporters that Dobbins has no more lingering scar tissue in his knee. Still, at the earliest, he'll be back in week 12, and we need to actually see him perform before putting him into a lineup. He's, at best, an IR stash right now. And it might not be until 2024 when he can truly look to reestablish himself from his devastating knee injury suffered last August. Meanwhile, Gus Edwards didn't practice on Thursday with a hamstring injury, and given the Ravens go on bye in week 10, it's possible they don't push him on Monday night against the Saints, opening the backfield for Kenyon Drake and Justice Hill. Thanks for joining me for another week of the Fantasy Points Daily Lineup. Can you believe it? We are halfway through the NFL season, more than halfway through the fantasy football season. It's kind of incredible. But the good news is you can still subscribe to fantasypoints.com and get a lot off. We are discounted. You can add code lineup22 and get even more discount. And then for those of you who already do subscribe to the website, keep an eye out for our super early bird special. The cheapest. I don't understand why everybody doesn't do this. Fantasypoints.com will be its cheapest coming in the next couple of weeks for the 2023 season. And because you subscribe early, you get more content. So you get more for less. And I don't understand why everybody doesn't do that. But when it does happen, use code lineup22 to get an extra 10% off already our early bird special. Keep an eye out for that. We're excited about launching it because we do have big things planned for 2023. I'm Joe. Thanks for joining me. I'll talk to you next Tuesday.